stores are selling out Roald Dahl Books.
Yeah, I've seen on eBay, $10,000.
All right, guys, welcome to episode 3 of Glass Culture Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about 3 controversial topics. We're going to be talking about the very controversial Twitter star, the trans activist Jeffrey Marsh. We're going to be talking about not my hero, not your hero, the hero that we all deserve, Senator Gerard Rennick. And we're also going to be talking about the bastardization of Roald Dahl's books. Cue the intro.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 3.
I'm Dan.
I'm Jay.
Well, I wanted to get us started with something topical, something trending, something crazy. Are you familiar with the work of Jeffrey Marsh?
Jeffrey Marsh, yeah, I have heard a little bit about him. He's on TikTok, isn't he?
Yep, he's got quite the social media following. TikTok is his primary kind of social media kind of gathering point, I guess you could say. A trans right activist. He's also an actor and an artist. He kind of does everything. He has pronouns. For the life of me, I couldn't tell you what they are, but quite honestly, I don't really care.
Probably him, he, and they.
Let's go with that until we're corrected. If someone wants to let us know in the comments what his pronouns are, please do. But lately he's been in the news. He's kind of talking directly to kids in his TikTok videos, and he's kind of trying to lure them away from their parents verbally and almost seemingly wanting to have private discussions with that kid by themselves with him directly through his Patreon account and his other social media networks. And I feel a bit weird about that. I don't really know what's going on, but that seems weird to me. I want to get your thoughts on that.
I think that's absolutely disgusting. That it's basically, we don't condone pedophiles, male, female, non-binary, anything. And you've got this transgender person that is trying to prey on innocent children and pull them away from the protection of their parents and basically trying to seduce and lure away the children towards him, which is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know his actual intent, but we have seen a lot of people in the trans community get pulled up for kind of unbecoming discussions with children. And I guess if you look at it this way, any adult talking to any child, doesn't matter what gender or race or whatever, but any adult talking to any child that isn't their own, wanting to have private communication with them, that always sends a red flag.
It's a massive red flag.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, these people, that they need to, the justice system needs to find these people, so that they're able to go, oh, you know what, I'm transgender, I can get away with this, I can do this, I can do that, and they basically use different avenues to exploit, basically. So, you might have a man, a creepy old man, even a young man, just basically a creepy person that might decide to just dress up as a woman and go into the women's and children's change rooms and toilets and stuff like that and go about business like that. You know what I mean? It's just, where does it end?
The acceptance part of it is one thing, but it seems like people who have no business being part of the accepted norm, acceptance part's going a bit too hardcore in one really potentially destructive path, in my opinion.
You're supposed to be an adult. You're supposed to learn, grow, and come up with your own decisions and stuff like that. So how do you know what you want when you're a young kid? I mean, when I was a young kid, I changed my mind a million times. I wanted to be a firefighter pilot. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a veterinarian. I wanted a tattoo. I still don't have any tattoos now. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, your mind is so young and not mature enough when you're young enough to have decisions like that pushed on you, and you go, hey, do you want to do this? Oh yeah, that's cool. I'll do this, and then you go and do all this surgery, which it's almost irreversible when you get older. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Well, these kids are all very impressionable. If they get led astray, it's purely because a lot of people don't know how to say no in the first place. So a kid who's being, not, groomed to go a certain way is going to think, oh, wow, I feel looked at, I feel appreciated. I'm going to keep doing this and doing this. And then before they know it, they're going to have to try to detransition, which is a horrible process that very often leads in more people ending their own life than they would have if they didn't transition in the beginning. So
that's exactly
yeah.
right. Like when we talk about grooming, like a male, let's say that grooms a child, you're not allowed to manipulate and groom kids. So why should you be able to do that with genders and sexes and races and stuff for your kid?
We're talking about like grown adults who have already made decisions trying to influence people who don't really know how to make their own decisions yet. And that's, I think, what's so scary. That's why I wanted to cover it, for the first topic here, just to get us started off on a somber note. But I want you to bring me back to the light.
Juwanna Mann? You know the fucking movie Juwanna Mann? That's basically a fucking documentary now.
Juwanna Mann from 2002?
Yes. He was a male NBA player that got kicked out of the NBA, so he decided to be a woman and go into the women's basketball and absolutely killed it.
That's amazing.
It's basically a documentary.
This is from 2002, and they predicted the future accurately. How did this movie only make such a... Yeah, I can see it made a crap... Wow, this is...
It is actually a good movie, though.
I'm speechless. But you know what? From 2002, they probably made it into a nice comedy. Correct? A comedy?
It is a comedy, yes. Yeah.
Okay. They probably made it a good comedy.
Real life documentary.
Whereas nowadays, if they remade the same movie, they would make it so freaking serious that it would be just mind-blowingly bad. This movie was ahead of its time.
So basically, my career is not over. I've still got a chance, Dan.
All you have to do is just identify. You don't have to get the snip. You just have to identify.
Get a wig, get a push-up bra, and I'm on the court, and I'm absolutely flattening some chicks.
I would actually pay to see that. Like if it was you, is it inappropriate to use the words beastly and enormous? It fits those boxes.
It does. So basically, we have Roald Dahl, the books. I'm sure everyone's heard of that. They're trying to cancel, change words and text, and remove genders and colors from the books that he's made.
Yep.
So basically, like, first they came for women. They're now individuals with cervixes. Then they came from mothers and fathers. They are now birthing and non-binary parents. Then they give a culture banning Jane Austen novel to decolonize universities, slapping trigger warnings on Shakespeare. And because we accept all of this, because we're a bunch of sheep, the children were obviously next. For all the people, products, books, brands, movies, meals, sounds, ideas, and dead historical figures have all been outlawed by the cancelled culture vultures. I never thought they'd be feasting on this. Roald Dahl Books. So we have James and the Giant Peach. So basically, cloud men are now cloud people. Probably to avoid upsetting non-binary clouds. In Fantastic Mr. Fox, describing a tractor's colour, just to mention the colour of the tractor, apparently you can't say black and describe the colour of the tractor.
Just for racist, mechanical items.
Exactly. So just in case you were radically charging race, chambermaid is now a cleaner. In
Uh,
Matilda, so Miss Trunchbull is now a formidable woman instead of a formidable female. Like, what's the difference?
they didn't need to write that, did they?
No.
She's also like a demonic, evil character. Like, she doesn't need to be humanized.
Correct. Mothers and fathers are now parents because that's offensive, apparently. In Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Oompa Loompas are not small men, they're now small people. Like, they're fictional characters. Augustus Gloop is now enormous instead of fat because enormous is better than fat, apparently. In the Twits, Mrs. Twit is no longer ugly. She is now beastly. So calling a woman beastly is now better than calling her ugly.
I'm just processing that because beastly sounds so much worse. And okay, if someone called you fat, you'd be like, oh man. But if someone called you enormous, you'd be like, holy crap, I'm rethinking my life. Like every choice up until now, I'm rethinking because you called me enormous.
Oh, and like to say to a person, "Oh, you are beastly."
I mean, it depends.
You
If
are
it's just,
you are disgustingly beastly.
I mean, I do get called beastly sometimes in the bed, but I don't get called enormous though.
I like what you did there.
Oh,
um,
cry. Have you
yes,
heard that stores are selling out of classic Roald Dahl books?
yes, and I've seen on eBay $10,000
Yeah,
for first edition novels.
they've created a ridiculous secondhand market where people are willing to buy $6 books for $150 now.
Yes, it's crazy. I've got 3 of every edition.
Do you really?
Yes.
Oh wow. Yeah, this is censorship on steroids. This is stupid.
It's absolutely crazy. Like this cancel culture vultures, they need to stop. Like they need to go back to hiding, back to lockup, back to where they came from, and just leave us alone. We don't care about you. We don't care about your whinging, your crying, your inability to live your own life so that you have to affect other people's lives.
Yeah, you don't need to control us. You can be happy in your own room.
I believe a lot of these people were either not loved as children or they had to live in their parents' shadows. So, like, their parents were famous or something like that, like popular people or rich or wealthy, and just had everything provided to them that they have life so easy that the only way that they can basically be heard, seen, is to act out and do these crazy things to basically get attention.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's like they have so much expectations set on them from their parents that they've just gone so far under those expectations that they're trying to get attention any way they can.
Yeah, and a lot of these people now you see as celebrities, sports stars, movie stars, politicians, big public figures. Basically,
Mm,
their children are basically this next generation of cancel culture woke victims, and they're the ones that are like now trying to support the movement and push the movement, like the parents.
yeah,
Um,
their kids are
so
suffering because of it.
yeah,
I feel like that's two hardcore controversial topics in a row, and I like it. I like hearing you fired up.
I try to give you a little bit of pizzazz, didn't
Well,
I?
I'm so I know pastel and here you are like I don't know, an explosion of fire-colored crowns on a page. I
A
love it.
flaming fox.
That I'm leaving that in, and I'm leaving this in because I love that so much that I think everyone needs to hear it.
I thought so. I thought it was all
I did like that. But yeah, dude, I am not down for these Roald Dahl changes at all. I get that they would change some parts of the movie because, like that makes sense because that's what they've already kind of conditioned our brains to think, that they're going to change things for movies. But you don't need to go back to the author's texts and change it because he's not even there to change it. Like, I mean, some of these changes are so creatively lackluster that they read like they're written by a toddler, not like, a professional author.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if you see they've got a warning label now on all the books.
I'll put up on the screen here, but for anyone who's listening instead of watching, I'll read it out. So you sent this to me before, Jay, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
This book was written many years ago, and so we regularly review the language to ensure that it can continue to be enjoyed by all today. Very well written way of saying that this has been rewritten for modern audiences.
So how do you even feel like you've got someone that's created something, they've passed away, and now you're going over and trying to change what that person has created?
Think about this. They're doing the same thing with, with movie adaptations and things like that as well. I think the Lord of the Rings springs to mind. They're doing have you heard they're rebooting Lord of the Rings again?
I have. Yep, I have.
The original trilogy is the best trilogy of all time.
Fantastic.
The third movie, thank you. I feel good to say that. The third movie got, was it 12 Oscars? Actually won every Oscar it was nominated for. You can't tell me they needed to reboot this at all for any reason other than money and for making another modern audience reboot of a series, which is really unfortunate.
Exactly.
Yeah, because the TV show flopped. So now they're throwing more money at a movie, which seems so stupid to me.
Your TV show was absolutely woke. That's why it flopped.
Yeah, exactly. I think people are predicting that this new movie is going to be like that. They've already come out and said it's for modern audiences. I mean, I don't really care about having like race swaps and things like that. That's not really a big deal for me, but I don't care about any made up scenario in which all of a sudden Frodo and Sam are hooking up. It's not what I want to watch.
Exactly.
It's not in the book. So, yeah. But have you seen the Disney, speaking of modern remakes and disclaimers before movies, would you care to hear the Disney one?
If you'd like to fire me up, go for it.
I've got it here. So this comes on before movies such as the classic Peter Pan from many years ago, before Dumbo, and before any of those really old, movies like the old Donald Duck cartoons and things like that. So I'll read it. This program includes negative depictions and or mistreatment of people of cultures. These stereotypes were wrong then and are wrong now. Rather than remove this content, we want to acknowledge its harmful impact, learn from it, and spark conversation to create a more inclusive future together. Disney is committed to creating stories with inspirational and aspirational themes that reflect the rich diversity of the human experience around the globe. To learn more about how stories have impacted society, visit blah, 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 random website.
It's a bloody cartoon.
It's a cartoon. The hypocrisy of this as well, because they fully know if they took Dumbo, like a classic cartoon from a long time ago, if they took that off of their streaming service, they know people would be angry. So they want people to pay the subscription so those people can watch Dumbo. But the hypocrisy of also having to stamp this in front of it. If they truly stood by their words, they would remove Dumbo, Peter Pan, and all of those old offensive cartoons. But
Aladdin?
they can't. Sorry?
Aladdin?
Well, yeah, and that's even like a more recent kind of cartoon, which kind of dealt with that as well, isn't it? Wasn't too crazy, but it was still kind of slightly on the nose, I guess.
I think they were like talking about the race of Aladdin.
Oh yeah, well I mean it was like a caricature of the kind of the region, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, again, the hypocrisy for them to want to take your money because they know that you're going to want to show your kids Dumbo. You're going to want to watch a HD version of Dumbo. If they really stood by their words, just take it off of the service and cop with the blow of having people cancel their subscriptions. That's my thoughts.
Even the dumbest thing I heard of was in Lilo and Stitch. Apparently, there's a scene where Lilo actually hides in the washing machine or the dryer, and they've actually edited that out now.
Yes, I heard about
Um,
this.
but
Yeah,
yeah, we've got to stop. All right, we've got to stop all of this bullshit. All right.
exactly. I do concur with that. Now, continuing with our trend of talking about Disney, because why not? Do you know that Donald Duck hit his peak popularity during the era in which he was the horny duck that was constantly ogling attractive females on screen?
No, I did not.
So, again, their hypocrisy because it's like they have to put these warnings on things and yet they leave the cartoon on there because it's horny Donald Duck, basically. If anyone knows any other shows which fit this or movies that fit this, comment down below. I'd love to hear some more which, use this ridiculous disclaimer to take your money, but then also show you the offensive material.
Yeah, so basically, Senator Gerard Rennick is an Australian politician who has been a senator for Queensland since July 2019. He is a member of the Liberal Nation Party of Queensland and sits with the Liberal Party in federal parliament. So basically, this bloke has been against the forced vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
He is all about trying to get healthcare workers and nurses and doctors back into the workforce, saying that it's basically unfair, unright that we are not letting these people back into a already flooded system of healthcare and hospitals that are over flooded with patients, and to get these people and to put them back into to work to basically to help alleviate the overflooding that's already in our hospital systems.
Now, to clarify, he's trying to help the people that were displaced from their work because they didn't want to take the jab, correct?
Correct.
So he's trying to help the people that have literally been out of work potentially for 2 years, or they've gone from you know high levels of work in the medical or teaching professions down to working at Target and Kmart and things like that. Nothing is wrong with working at Target, but when you go from being a doctor to Target, it's a pretty big leap. So he's trying to get those people back into the system.
Correct. Yeah, and he's also trying to help also with people that have been affected from the vaccine with myocarditis and heart attacks and
Yep.
Bell's palsy and numerous other things that have come out that are affecting these people. One recently, I think, was a woman who was almost paralyzed pretty much from the neck down, and she has seizures and all these kind of things. And he's trying to help get her medical bills covered.
Yeah. Well, makes sense, doesn't it? Someone's got to do something.
Definitely.
Well, I mean, I'm having a look at his Twitter, which I didn't know about until you told me. Thank you very much. He's definitely trying to spread awareness. For example, a young woman passed away after a reaction from the jab. She basically died unexpectedly. Now we're talking about basically a kid, essentially, that died, and it seems like every other day, somebody has some kind of weird heart-related issue which needs to have surgery, or they just drop it right then and there, which is crazy. So he's definitely trying to. I guess he's like an Australian hero, I guess you could say, really, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't even stop there. I mean, now saying that Qantas, the airline, they need to cut out with acknowledging the land when they land the airplane, saying that it's ridiculous, it's silly, it's just unnecessary, basically. And I think that's what it is. It's not saying that we don't acknowledge the land, but it's unnecessary to do it every time that you land an aeroplane or a commercial vehicle, or to drive into a state even.
This is stuff that could just be plastered on your plane ticket. Just like a disclaimer down the bottom. Done. You know what I mean? You don't need to go that extra mile to make people wait to do all this other stuff. That's my thought on that, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
There are more efficient ways of doing it, I guess. But I think seems like a pretty legit guy. Seems like someone worth following because he's bringing a lot of stuff to light, which people, let's put it this way, he's not afraid to talk about things that a lot of people seem to be very afraid to talk about. Kind of like you and I.
Yeah, they're controversial. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely worth following, guys. And I'll actually have his Twitter down below if you guys want to go and follow him, because he seems pretty interesting as well.
All right, guys. I've been Dantidote.
And I'm Jay.